Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice, musician turned entrepreneur and co-founder of 6th Ave Homes and 6th Ave Storytelling. Over the past 10 years, I have launched multiple successful businesses and have become obsessed with all things entrepreneurship and marketing. I've been on a personal quest to unpack what it takes to make and grow a great brand. One thing that I've discovered is that stories are powerful and that storytelling has the power to set a brand apart. Join me as I dive into the stories of the heavy-hitting leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners in our community to hear their biggest wins, greatest losses, and their best business secrets. There's a story behind every great brand. Welcome to Stories with Soul. Stories with Soul is brought to you by my company, 6th Ave Storytelling. In 2020, we launched a marketing company on a mission to encourage entrepreneurship and make starting and growing a small business easier than ever before. Since then, we have helped hundreds of small businesses and entrepreneurs grow their brands by giving them the tools, resources, strategy, and support they need to craft and share their stories. If you are thinking about launching and growing your own brand, schedule a meetup with me today. I would love to talk to you. Head over to 6thAveStorytelling.com and let me show you how the storytelling approach can transform your marketing strategy. Good morning and welcome to Stories with Soul. Today we're honored to have with us Mayor Mattie Parker. I'm stoked you're here.
Hi, Jamey. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Been wanting to have you here for quite
Made it happen.
quite some time. So I'm going to read the rest of the bio here. She is the visionary leader who's reshaping Fort Worth, reelected in 2023 with an impressive 70% of the vote. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That means that's pretty crazy numbers, right?
It's good numbers. Yeah, we need better voter turnout total. We can talk about that today.
Okay, we can go into that. And she's been the driving force behind Fort Worth's transformation into a world-class city since 2021. As the 45th mayor and a licensed attorney with over 17 years in public affairs, Mayor Parker's focus is unwavering, building a safer, stronger Fort Worth, enhancing quality of life, and ensuring prosperity reaches every corner of America's 13th largest city. Go Fort Worth. She's pioneering initiatives for global economic competitiveness, public safety, education, workforce development, and all while preserving Fort Worth's rich heritage and history. Her achievements are numerous. She spearheaded a unanimous redistricting, revitalized city council's committees for innovation, and played a key role in passing a $560 million bond for neighborhood and business district development. Under her leadership, Fort Worth has had remarkable growth with significant projects like Texas A&M's university expansion and the new $1.63 billion terminal at DFW Airport. Named in 2022's Times 100's Next List, recognized for her dynamic approach from serving as congressional staff to acting as a founding CEO of both T3 and Fort Worth Cradle to Career. I want to talk a little bit of that. You were the founding CEO of both of those. She's not just a public figure, but a trusted advisor, problem solver, and passionate advocate for adoption and education, deeply committed to every child's potential. Most recently, she has launched the Good Natured Initiative, which is a public-private partnership aimed at expanding Fort Worth's investment in parks. Excited to hear more about that.
Good.
So anyways, we're glad you're here. Join us as we welcome a remarkable leader, a wife, a mother of three, who's dedicated to leaving a lasting legacy in Fort Worth.
Thanks, Jamey. I appreciate you having me. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. I sat through it. I did it.
All right. So that long intro, which is impressive, ties me into my first question, which I'm going to read one more thing. I'm on a reading spree here.
Okay.
So I found this quote from Kay Granger, who's one of your old bosses.
Yes.
And she said, in the 6 years Mattie served on my congressional staff, she completed law school, had her first son, and adopted her daughter. It was clear that she was a force. Besides serving as chief of staff to the former mayor, she started a nonprofit to help students thrive. So I just read this like massive bio of here's all these things that I'm doing and have done. I went to law school and on the Times list. So, and then Kay Granger, who's like congresswoman for years and years and years, is basically like Mattie is hardcore. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is high capacity is probably a word that people would use to describe you. Is that a nature or a nurture thing? Is that like you were always that way, or was that like part of your upbringing and your parents and the way you grew up?
I think it's probably nature and a little bit of nurture. And now that you're as a parent, you guys can attest to this. Like, it's amazing how much your children come sort of pre-wired in some way, and then you're as a parent to kind of flourish those talents or kind of protect them from the things that are maybe their vulnerabilities, et cetera. But it was funny when I was running for mayor because everybody comes out of the woodwork. They go interview people that you haven't seen or that knew you really well when you were 10, whatever it is, And apparently I've always been like this, just sort of really
doing
focused.
a lot.
Just doing a lot. Yeah. I mean, I've always been pretty driven and knew I wanted more out of life, whatever more meant. Even when I was a child, I didn't know what that was.
Can you give me examples of like childhood Mattie?
Yeah, nerdy things. I grew up in a really small farmhouse with central air and heat, and there's just one room kind of in the middle of the house that there's only one bathroom. So you have to pass through it to go to the bathroom. And I would shut these French doors around the room so I could read quietly. My parents were hippies, music, incense burning, records playing, loud family. And I would get onto them. Like, I'm trying to read, and this is my reading space. And to my mom's credit, especially, just sort of letting that kind of odd sort of intellectual side of me flourish and be fine.
And were you reading to like learn, or were you reading because that was an escape, or you're reading?
I think both. I think maybe the escape factor. Again, such a different time if you think about it. It's amazing just in a short period of time generationally how different our kids are getting raised. But I had 3 channels on a television with rabbit ears, so TV really wasn't something you were going to go. I was 2 miles down a dirt road and then 10 miles to the closest town, so I didn't have neighbors. I had a party line for a telephone. So, yeah, reading was probably definitely an escape and a way to kind of get out of being on a ranch.
So the sentiment is you have these parents who are musicians, kind of
really
hippies, eccentric, and you're like, I'm gonna do my own thing. I want silence, and I want to read.
Well, here's a funny story.
Me
My parents took me to a lot of concerts. So from the time I was a small child, festivals, concerts, whatever. They always went to the Kerrville Folk Festival. I think that year in particular, my Uncle Paul, who's a drummer, who's played for everybody you can think of, was playing with the band. And we were going. It was May timeframe. Can't remember the time. School was on, though. And I was probably 4th grade-ish. And we go to the Kerrville Folk Festival, and our RV gets stuck in the mud. And my parents were like, it's good. We're just going to stay a few extra days. And I'm like, no. We have got to get back to school. And I'm sure, thinking about that now, kind of lame, Mattie. You were in 4th grade. You're going to be fine. You go back to school.
You wanted to go back to school.
100%. I don't know.
Because you're like, I got things
to do.
And then having the self-discipline at an early age to like sit and read.
Yeah.
And so, so Hico is the town. So my parents live in Cranfill's Gap.
No way.
Their address is technically Hico.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
okay.
But it literally is like there's not much
going on there.
To go into town is like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot. How did you wind up there? Like, how did your parents?
Good question. So my parents met in Austin, or actually technically San Marcos at the time. My dad was an attorney there. My mom was raised in Hico, but had lived by this point most of her adult life in Austin area. And at the time she was still dancing for, it was called Austin Civic Ballet. Now it's Austin Ballet Theater.
Oh, wow.
And working as well for the state. My dad was an attorney, second marriage for him. And then when they got married, about 5 years later, they decided to move his law practice to Hico, in a small town. You plant your flag, you have hang a shingle in a place like Hico, but you kind of practice in that whole surrounding area.
So he's kind of doing like Waco and
Austin. Everything, right? Okay. Mostly criminal law, a lot of family law in that area. And then my mom worked for him as a paralegal. And then she also opened a dance studio. So she had
in Hico?
A ballet studio in downtown Hico. And then she also had a studio in Hamilton, Texas.
In Hamilton,
well.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Familiar with all of that. And then loved reading as a kid. Do you have memories of at that age, like, I want to do this, I want to be like?
Not really. I think I remember maybe when they make you say, what do you want to be when you grow up, and you draw yourself? I think I wanted to be a lawyer because that was what I was around. Mm-hmm. But when I really reflect on, I got this question yesterday, I probably didn't answer it adequately from a reporter about politics in general when I got interested in government. The one thing that I always had was I had 2 really opinionated grandmothers.
Okay.
In very different ways on my mom and dad's side. And I was close to both of them. And they both really cared about politics, but not in a way they were leading. It was just something they were really passionate about following. And especially my grandmother in Austin, who her name was Barbara Piercy, and she was a Navy wave in World War II. So she met my grandfather. I remember when Hillary Clinton did not win and Obama was the nominee, she was heartbroken because she wanted so badly to see a woman become president. It was less about the policy. It was just like she wanted in her lifetime to watch that happen. I think that was unique. Now that I reflect on it now, how much they talked to me about politics. But it's hard for me to explain because it wasn't to say really opinionated. They wanted you to believe what they believe. They just wanted you to care about something.
And to be able to dialogue about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is kind of a lost thing.
Oh, I always think about that. My grandmother, Nana, she'd be ashamed right now of the way we don't debate.
Yeah, we don't
fall
have
apart.
hard dialogue.
Yeah. No.
This episode is sponsored by the Fort Worth Business Press. As a Fort Worth entrepreneur and small business owner, the Business Press is my favorite source for news and updates about the entrepreneurial community in and around Fort Worth. I read their email newsletter literally every day. It's always full of insights and stories that really matter. Are you ready to be more connected? Sign up for their free newsletter at fortworthbusinesspress.com. But if you're like me and the newsletter just isn't enough, you can become an insider. With the code STORYTELLING10, all one word, you'll get a discount on the Insider membership. Insiders receive exclusive access to special content, 24 issues of the Business Press delivered to your door each year, and discounts on event registrations and more. Join me and the Fort Worth Business Press in staying up to date on the people, companies, and issues that matter most to Fort Worth. So grew up with these parents who were driven and kind of chasing their dreams and doing fun things and entrepreneurial, and then two strong women who liked keeping a strong pulse on the world and debate and things. So you went to eventually settled on I want to be an attorney. I want to go to law school. Was that sentiment was not yet politically focused, correct?
No, not at all. Yeah. When in high school, I was pretty active in a lot of academic endeavors through UIL competitions, and then I decided I wanted to go to UT and applied. And by then, my parents had divorced, and so I was sort of really focused on I wanted to go to a really great school, but I also needed to be able to afford it because I was going to pay for it by myself. So UT was by clear the best option for me, and getting to go to Austin at the time was so transformative for me because it really got me out of my bubble. Even though it wasn't that far from HICO, it was a whole world away. Your parents live in Cranfield's Gap. You can probably attest to that, getting to be on a campus with 45,000 other students.
Was that kind of culture shock?
Oh, it was and it wasn't. Yes, it was culture shock, absolutely. I think I really enjoyed the anonymity of being in no one knowing you, because in a small town, everybody knows you, everything you're doing. So that was interesting. And fortunately, I had friends that were going to UT 1 or 2, so I had a connection, which was helpful. Did not know I was interested necessarily in politics, but I did declare government as a major and loved it immediately. And so I never needed to change. I was pretty happy in the School of Liberal Arts.
And you were working?
Oh, yeah.
I
did. Yeah, I worked every day. I went to school. So I did work study and worked at the Bass Hall on campus for the first year. And then I ended up working at a restaurant in Austin, Texas Land and Cattle, for 3 years. And worked full time practically. Oh, yeah. I mean, I worked a lot and then went to school.
So even that as a testament to being able to juggle and spin a lot of plates.
Yes and no, but I still believe that, I'm sure looking back, it was very difficult. A lot of people work and go to school, but you also have idle hands if you're taking 12 or 15 hours of college classes.
Yeah,
it's not a full-time job, and I think for me, it was really, I did better academically when I was really busy. Less time to goof off, I guess. I don't know.
And then in the service industry, you learn about people.
Oh, yeah.
And you learn how to
I have crazy stories. Absolutely. Yeah. Good and bad, right?
But that, I think everybody should have a service industry job at some point.
Absolutely. Because it's really humbling.
It's humbling, but also teaches you soft emotional skills on how to calm people down.
Yeah.
And people over.
Especially people you work with, right? Not just the people coming into the restaurant, but just the people you're around a lot. Yeah. It's very interesting.
So UT, and then eventually law school.
Yep.
And then were you I'm going to be a what type of law?
Didn't know. So I worked full time, went to law school. So what happened was I went to UT, graduated. While I was a junior, I'd gotten this internship, ironically meeting a lady that came in my section at the bar at the restaurant who worked as a comms director for Speaker Craddock. She was looking for interns. Yada yada yada. That's how it went. So for my junior and senior year of college, I worked for Speaker Craddock in the press office. Graduated, studied abroad, did all the fun things, and then came back and worked at the Capitol for him full time. Then I worked for Representative Phil King. It was during that session that I really knew I wanted to go to law school. I kind of got burned on a bill because an older lobbyist who's an attorney sort of patted me on the head. Oh, you're cute. You know what you're talking about. And I did. I just didn't have a law degree. So I didn't want that feeling ever again. Dave and I ended up moving to Fort Worth. And
when did you meet David?
I met him
he's in the story now.
Yeah. 2006, after graduation. And then we were dating for about 6 months when AT&T moved him to Fort Worth. And so it sort of sped up our relationship, but he moved before me and we got engaged and ended up moving here full time. And candidly, we always thought we'd go back to Austin for a variety of reasons. And time went on and we obviously planted roots here and would never leave. But it's kind of funny how life works out that way.
So basically, like, he brought you to Fort Worth.
Yes, absolutely.
And did you like? Guess what year was that? What year?
I was apprehensive. It was 2008.
8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fort Worth was a different place.
We couldn't find brunch.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds silly to say, but it was a very sleepy, different place at the time.
It totally was.
Absolutely.
When did we get married?
2008.
Okay.
I moved here in 2007 from Dallas, and so I was like,
where am I?
Girl, what else?
Yeah, and we almost moved to Austin. We were looking at.
We were very.
Were you?
Because you were like, "There's nothing here."
Well, and I was probably in that same camp of being really nervous about planting roots here, and I wanted to go back to Austin and just sort of like, we'll play it out. And I was still working back and forth in Austin at the time when we moved. Then went to law school. So but very quickly you could say that the shift was happening already in our city. Mm-hmm.
And David, he's not an attorney, right?
No, he's not. He's actually
he's
a
musician
master's
too, right?
What's that?
He's a musician too.
He is. He just had a gig on Wednesday night. Actually,
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, he plays with Jim LeCamp and Steve Montgomery and Marshall Young. They
Really?
call themselves the Hardcore Troubadours. Jamie,
I didn't.
you
see
didn't know
him.
this?
Oh,
Yeah.
he and I have talked music before.
Yeah.
Like, we've geeked out about going into rabbit holes about our favorite bands and songs. And
but I kind of love that connection with your family. You grew up around
totally.
that, and now you have a little bit of that in
I
your
probably
home
couldn't
again.
have married somebody that wasn't a musician. Like, it's just such a
and you love
great.
music. We've talked about
love
music.
it. I mean, that's what we do. We'll go anywhere to go to a concert. That's our favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
So many memories that way. Yeah.
But he does government stuff.
He does. So he has a lobby firm in Austin,
Okay.
and some great partners there, and obviously has a North Texas office, but spends a lot of time going back and forth.
Government stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? He had lobby office. I
So-
don't even know what that means.
So it really, think of it this way. Every single industry has interests with what's happening in the Texas legislature, any state for that matter. And sometimes it's defensive. Like, we need to protect ourselves where there may regulatory issues there may be. Sometimes it's on the offense. We need to change something in particular. But they don't really focus on one industry. It might be technology. It might be interesting. They represented Bumble at one point. The CEO was really working on legislation to really protect women, in particular, online dating apps. It's just one random example. Ford Motor Company, et cetera. It goes all over the place.
But he wasn't doing that when y'all met.
No, he worked for AT&T in a similar capacity, but internal just for the company.
And y'all, can you talk to me a little bit about just y'all's chemistry or you're obviously interested in the similar type of things,
Sure.
and you're both driven, and you're both like,
Yeah. So David was raised by a veterinarian and his mom's a teacher. He grew up in Crowley. And I think he had just a wonderful family. He has 2 siblings. His mother is truly the saint of all saints. She's absolutely lovely. Her name is Quixie Bill. How cute is that?
oh, great name.
I love
Great
that
name. Yeah.
Have y'all used Quixie? Have y'all
We didn't have a girl.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have
you
done
need
it.
a dog at least?
I
Named
know, we do. I know. She
Well,
seems
Are you
more
allowed to
worthy.
name your
She's just such
dog after your
I
mother-in-law?
know.
Cool name.
I know. It probably might be the wrong translation because I love her so much.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but
I
just
retract
a
that.
salt of the earth, hardworking family, right? Built a practice from nothing, and that's what they did together. And I think all in all, that upbringing really informed who he is today. He went Texas A&M, so he was Corps of Cadets at A&M, Ross Volunteer. We're talking strong maroon genes going on there,
Okay.
right? So, and obviously marrying a Longhorn, we're a house divided. But
Yeah.
that's okay. And then when I met him, David's about 7 years older than me, so he'd already kind of established his career, was already involved on the regulatory side in Austin. And I think we both knew pretty quickly, honestly. I was maybe young and sort of apprehensive at first, but it was such a fun courtship and dating when I think about it now. And he has wonderful friends, as do we, that kind of get jived together. And ironically, my first cousin, who is like my sister, married his best buddy. So we do life together.
First cousin who's
Yeah.
like my sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a small town, Jamie.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm tracking with that.
Anyway,
And so, and y'all are both doing a lot.
yeah,
And so
we're very busy people.
And is that part of? Because I know for like me, for Melissa and I, and today's our anniversary. The day we're recording.
15 years?
16.
16 years.
16
y'all.
years.
Happy anniversary.
But
That's awesome.
but part of our attraction is we're both really driven,
Mm-hmm.
and we're both are like we get together and we talk about the future. What are we doing? What are we working on? What are our
What's
goals?
next?
What are our, and not everybody is wired that way, but I think that's part of like, at least like what makes our relationship.
Yeah.
And supporting each other and you've got this and vice versa.
And flexing in and out of things.
Yeah.
So follow him to Fort Worth, come to Fort Worth. You're like, this, it's not Austin. We thought we were going to be in Austin, but we're here. And then was there a moment where you were like, all right, I'm in.
I think pretty quickly, honestly. The one distinguishing thing I noticed immediately from comparing Austin to Fort Worth is there was this older generation of people that really invested in David and I. And especially for him when he had a pretty big job with AT&T and he had to do all the things, go to all the dinners, et cetera. But there were so many people that wanted him to be successful. And then, okay, your wife's coming here. She wants to go to law school. What can I do to encourage her to go to law school? And I really reflect on that so fondly because it was incredibly important for me as a young professional to feel like I could have a chance to put my feet in the ground and feel at home here and also feel supported in whatever career path I took. And I don't know what y'all's experience felt like, but that mentorship is almost not even a big enough word. It was like an extended family to make you feel like
people that wanted you to win.
Absolutely.
A community that
importantly wanted us not just to win, but also to want to win in Fort Worth, to want to continue that drive and that success here in this community.
Yeah.
Which is pretty special.
Yeah. No, I can 100% relate to that. Like it's a place where it's a community that is we want you to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
We want to cheerlead you on, I think.
Absolutely.
I think that is 100%. So kind of you felt that buy-in and then you went to law school here. And was the cinema, and you when did you start working for Kay?
So I'm trying to think of my years. It was probably around 2000 and backing up my years of graduation law school. Probably 2008, 9, right around there. Started working. I was already in law school and I started working for Kay. So I was night school at Texas Wesleyan. And I did that for my first year working for Kay. And then I got pregnant with Grayson. And then I did the math, Melissa. And I realized, oh my God, I'm going to have this baby 2 weeks before finals.
Oh my
2L year, which is usually a really bad time. 2L year is hard.
That's like weed out time.
And I remember so many people, A, thinking I was crazy, and B, like, you can't do that. Like, you won't make it. And then I had people like, we'll figure it out, right? And I just didn't want to withdraw and lose the time. So I just sucked it up and did it. And
Did they like give you an extension or anything?
So
were you like nursing and taking finals?
Well, here's the good story. It's like the goodness of people, even law school professors. I induced labor right at 40 weeks, which would give me exactly 2 weeks till final started. We bring Gray home. I'm home for a week and just tried to figure out what day it was, right? For that first week, as you know.
Just put the books next to the bed in osmosis.
Yeah, exactly. And knew, okay, don't touch anything for that first week. Pretty much I didn't. And I tried to cram a little bit in before labor, but let's be honest, you're about to have a baby. And then I knew I had a week to cram and get ready. And I had so many wonderful people. Like one of my best buddies from law school, a guy named Spencer Nielsen, who is an attorney here in town. He would come to my house to meet me. And I've got like a nursing baby and we're trying to study. And he like, we'll go with the flow. It's going to be fine. Friends like that, right? And then I got a call from my professor, Professor Alton, who's since retired. And he was our property professor. And he's like, look, you missed some classes. You want to come by, bring the baby. I'll reteach the lessons. So I took this baby to school and he retaught 2 or 3 lectures that I had missed. When I took finals, like I think it was maybe Civ Pro, Professor George, it was a 4-hour final. I'm like, well, I'm going to explode with breast milk if I try to make it 4 hours. So he's like, just no worries. Go pump, do whatever you need to do, and then come back during the middle of the final. So they accommodated everything I needed. I wouldn't recommend doing that, if I'm being honest.
Exhausted.
So tired. So tired.
Because those first couple months are
Your
just
brain
a
doesn't
blur.
Yeah.
I know. But I got through it.
Yeah.
Is the moral of the story. And then
That's
Austin,
hardcore.
obviously a wonderful husband, support system. My mom moved in to kind of help do all the things. So we made it.
But was the
That should be like every mayor should have to do that.
Ooh.
You can handle
it. Puts things in perspective sometimes when you think about hard things. You're like, I've been bone tired before, and this was not it. It was that.
Yeah, that's next
That was
level.
it. Yeah.
That's 100%. But was the sentiment, I'm going to go practice law, or were you like, I love politics because I've now
No, I was
interned
very
and-
open-minded. I did go practice law. So
You did?
eventually when I graduated, I ended up working for Harris, Finley, and Bogle here for about a year.
Doing what?
It was mostly litigation and
Okay.
some administrative employment
You were
law.
in the courtroom?
2 or 3 times.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you good?
I don't know, probably not, Jamie. No,
Really?
but I had good mentorship.
thought
I
you
did
would
one
be
pro.
good.
I mean, yeah, you can wing it, right? You can wing it. Depends on the judge. But yeah, I got that experience. What a great law office it was, and I ended up. Mayor Price called and said, "Hey, I'm going to need a new chief of staff. Would you come talk to me about it?" So that's
And
how. I ended up leaving.
How did she know to ask you?
Well,
to do that?
we knew each other, and I knew each other when I worked for Kay,
From
and
Kay
then
Granger World.
yeah, and then when she ran for mayor a few times, Dave and I did a few things with her. Just got to know her over the years.
But she came and said, I know you have a job. I know you got kids. And I want you to, she recruited you?
Yeah, she just said, like, I
That's
want to talk to you
cool.
about this. Let's think about whether this is a good fit or not, and it makes sense, honestly, because it's such a unique role that you need to be policy focused and political at the same time, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, she was already almost 5 years into her administration. She knew what she was working on. So she didn't want to train with somebody. And we had a really good rhythm and charisma together because we're so different in a lot of ways. And I hope that she feels like that too. I was really a benefit to her to kind of hold down the fort and allow her to be this amazing external mayor doing all the things, making people feel so connected to our city in a really special way, but at the same time, really further some big policy initiatives as well. And help each other do that.
You can ask something about that.
No.
So policy focused and political. What does that mean?
I think it means you have to have an instinct about political decisions you're going to have to make.
So not political, not political in the sentiment of like
party.
No, everything has a lever, right?
Okay.
Every decision you make impacts someone else differently. Candidly might piss someone off differently. Someone's happy, someone's mad. And it's always a calculation.
Okay.
But at the same time, you have to keep good public policy at the center of your choice. It can't all be about politics. It's a balance. Yeah.
And you felt like you were good at that.
Very.
You had a grasp on
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And can you articulate like my superpowers that are like I'm wired differently than 99% of the population, are what?
So in this job,
because I'm assuming it has something to do with what you just described.
Sure, I think so. In this job, not talking about personal life, et cetera, I have a really keen ability to tell you exactly how the dominoes are going to fall.
You see the outcomes.
I totally do.
And you do that quickly?
Yeah.
Like almost instantaneously?
I can tell you quickly. It doesn't mean we implement quickly.
Yeah,
it's like, and furthermore, an acceptance of, do I want this path or this path? And what mitigates damage? Yeah. Or also just relationships. And I still attempt, I'm not perfect at this. I have 10 additional council members on council, along with a wonderful management team and city employees and community. Back to the calculus conversation we just had, you have to weigh those things out. And it's not about me. It's not about one council member. It's about an entire community. But at the same time, you have to be really firm in what are your core values in whatever decision you're making, and just move forward. But I have an instinct that I've developed, I think, being around this work for 20 years, where I burn myself if I move too fast and don't either articulate where I know this is headed, or sometimes in city government, especially, it truly is like Parks and Rec, by the way, if you've seen that show. I joke, you said this a lot of times, it's like a combination of Parks and Rec and Veep, if you've watched Veep. And truly, we are sometimes our own worst enemy. Like we just kind of stub our toes because we don't communicate well or don't think through that. And if I don't insert myself, sometimes I notice that happens more often.
But there's there's inductive reasoners and deductive reasoners, and in inductive thinkers, which is probably like 50% of the population, are like they learn and think by experience. This happened in the past, and then a deductive type of thinker, not one's not better than the other, are able to like process situations that have never happened. Their the ability to wade into the hypothetical, and so my assumption is you're able to see sort of hypothetical situations and like quickly
Yes.
make a pros and cons list very quickly.
Yes.
Here's what I think the ramifications are. Are you a small business owner or an entrepreneur? Do you do marketing for a small business? If so, I have something that I want to give you, and it's totally for free. We've put together a free resource at 6appstorytelling.com/download. And it's the secrets, it's the tips, it's the tricks, it's the tools of the trade. It's literally everything we do at 6app Storytelling to help small businesses grow. Go download it today at 6appstorytelling.com/download.
I think that's very true, but I also feel very fortunate that on the inductive side, the experiences I've seen just in my short career, and while I'm only 40 years old, like I kind of grew up fast, and I've always been sort of an old soul. And I've also been really lucky from the age of 20, been around politics. You've seen it before. It is Groundhog Day.
Nothing's new under
Nothing's new. Nothing's new. And sometimes you just have to take a minute and realize you've been through this before. Don't panic. Stay calm. And that always helps serve people better, I think.
And so, and your superpower is generally also your Achilles heel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's generally like, this is why I'm great at what I do.
Yeah.
But also hurts me sometimes.
Yeah.
And you said for you, that's probably like, you're seeing it, you can make these decisions, you can anticipate, you can problem solve, but then you got to communicate it and slow down.
And patience.
Yeah.
Right?
Not be too quick to the draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're making decisions on behalf of a million people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to garner their trust and their interest in something that you're working on as well. Yeah.
I know we're moving on, but I just want to ask about from Betsy. Obviously, you learned from her professionally, but she's also, I feel like she's not only a mom and a grandmom, but she's kind of maternal to the city, or how it was.
That's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so what did you feel like you learned from her about that you're trying to still take with you? Obviously, you're different people. As you said, you're completely different, which is important because you don't want to have the same regime every single time. But from that side, what do you feel like you've learned from her?
Well, I know that most people that know Betsy feel like this about her, that she exudes this level of happiness and joy that you want to be around. And it's genuine. As you well know, you've probably seen her in all kinds of settings. What you see is what you get. She's not a different person behind closed doors.
I mean, she's wild.
Yes, she is so much fun. She has so much energy.
Her energy is just like her son Philip was like my brother's best friend in middle school. So we went on like family trips and stuff.
Cool.
Way before mayor. But she's always been this like, and she came on the mayor scene and like totally changed it all.
Oh, I know.
Started going, like she was like the Energizer Bunny.
And we called her that. Jason Lamers, who was in my position before me, I think dressed as Energizer Bunny one year for Halloween. Because that's who he was working for.
So you were saying one of the things you learned about her learned from her was...
I'm so inspired by it because I'm not that way. I mean, I'm much more an introvert extrovert. Like I have to turn on and turn off.
You got to recharge.
I do have to recharge. I don't think she ever recharges.
No.
I don't. We got to ask Tom. Does she plug in somewhere? Like, how does this happen? I don't know. But it was very important to me that, and I really feel this way even after I'm mayor. This city has benefited so much from 10 years of her leadership, being so external facing and meeting people where they are, that we can't go back from that maternal feeling. And I hope that I have, in my own way, still continued to do that and meet people where they are and make sure City Hall feels open and level of transparency and just excitement around the things we're doing as a community together that I think should continue. Absolutely. But we call her BP, and that's what we called her for short. But she was like that all the time. I mean, she and I would joke, which is probably why we were really good for each other. I mean, I'd be really serious, like working on something, typing.
So your job was to kind of handle
all of the things.
Let her go hype up the crowd, and
yeah. Which I'm so thankful for now, Jamie, because don't get me wrong, don't discredit her. She did a lot of the politics too, and the managing of council relationships and people, but I did a lot of it as well.
So you were like researching and putting
and just like, she trusted me. Like, I need you to go talk to so-and-so, fix this. We're going to deal with it later. And that was so important training for what I'm doing now because I didn't have on-the-job training. I was prepared and knew the issues and was ready to get to work immediately, which was a big asset.
So that, because I always wondered, I don't know what the chief of staff is or does. I never fully. So, but you're kind of handling a lot of the legit, and that's a paid job, right? That's
yes.
So you basically have this job, like we actually pay that job well. Yeah, Mayor, we do not.
Mayor, we do not. No, we do not. I know, it's really bizarre.
Which is bonkers to me.
I know.
But you learned, like, it prepped you for this. And was while you were doing that, like, so when she originally said, I'm recruiting you, I want you to come work for me, like, were you like, yes, this is my in? Or were you just like, this is a good job? Like,
this is an awesome career opportunity. Didn't think of anything else. I never wanted to run for office.
You didn't have ambitions?
No.
Really?
No.
At what point do you remember when you did?
When I thought that it was important that I raise my hand and run for mayor.
Well, what was that like?
It was like January 6th of 2021.
And that's when she was...
Big day.
We knew she wasn't going to run. I probably knew before most people. She'd already made the decision. I'm not running again. In the middle of 2020. I guess that would have been, yeah. And all the people were talking. Y'all live here. It was like, who's running for mayor? What's going to happen? 10 years is a long time for leadership, right? And it's a long story, but I did get phone calls from people I really respected that were like, you can do this. And we want to support you to do this.
That's kind of cool.
It was very humbling, but also kind of frightening. And it literally was January 6th.
You never thought, like, I could do this job?
No, not that. I know what it takes to run for office.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I did.
Yeah.
It's very different when you put yourself out there, a level of vulnerability, and to put your name on a ballot, and the exposure to you and your family and everything else is very hard. Yeah. So
I feel like January 6th would be a day that everyone's putting in their resignation letter. So I feel like it's interesting that you were raising your hand at that time. Was there like...
It was so evident to me though, Melissa, that especially for Fort Worth at that moment, and still I feel like this today, 3 years later, that we were at such a turning point as a community of opportunity and progress, and we couldn't get it wrong. Like, there's some cities in this country that have really goofy people that are leading them, and there's all kinds of antics that happen. I don't think we could afford that.
Right.
I didn't think that partisanship belonged in City Hall. And all I was seeing, a lot of what I was seeing from candidates was going to be partisan. It was going to be about, I'm the strongest conservative, I'm the most progressive, and I'm sorry, 99% of what you do at City Hall has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. And that's always, I feel like I learned that from Betsy. It was, Fort Worth, this is not political.
And it should
not be political.
Absolutely. And it's gotten harder and harder to fight that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the uniqueness of what has made Fort Worth special, is that there have been leaders in place. You're one of those that have fought against that. City level stuff needs to be for the good of the city.
Yeah. And truthfully, you can have, a set of values that you are your bedrock, that you will always support and hold on to. When big policy decisions are made, you have to kind of push back and fight on these things, but it doesn't have to be partisan.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then at some point you were CEO of these two nonprofit organizations.
So I left planned April of 2020. Okay. So COVID comes, it was a mess. And I stayed as long as I could to help the office, made a transition plan, and I left. And I founded Tarrant To and Through, that we had worked on for about a year and a half before that with the Rainwater Charitable Foundation, Rose Bradshaw, a lot of people really working hard to travel the country, understand what we wanted to do on this post-secondary partnership work. And that became T3. And so I left in April 2020. It was chaotic. And you can probably tell me stories what it was like at the Net. I mean, we were starting a brand new nonprofit. I was trying to hire people and raise money on Zoom.
Yeah.
It was, and trying to I had 4-year-old, like Lainey was 4, Montessori school. I was like, this kid is not working on Zoom Montessori. He was like a little Tasmanian devil running around. Yeah. It was not working. Grace, David's business from home. Like everybody, we all have stories, right?
Yeah.
But fortunately, for the grace of God and good people here and philanthropy and a belief from their school systems that this was needed, we got started. And we didn't miss any time. Colleges signed on as partners. We hired wonderful people to be founding directors of the work. And we were still in schools and starting that fall of 2020, despite the hybrid nature and chaos of it all, right?
And that was a different type of role for you, because you're starting from nothing.
Yeah.
There's no like existing.
I mean, I was starting a small business, and y'all should give me a lot of lessons on what that's like. And it is very scary. And like, I remember trying to figure out, I'd hired an HR company and then payroll, and I didn't have an operations person yet. And how much, I mean, all the things,
all the hats
you have to go through.
There's no playbook for any of that.
There's no playbook, not at all. And I just knew I couldn't mess it up. Yeah. Figure it out.
And was that fun?
It was really fun. It was hard to leave. That was one of the hardest things I had to decide on, is to leave the work. But I'm still on the board and still very active. And the leaders they have in place are amazing. And I'm very proud of what Tarrant 2 and 3 is doing right now.
So January 2021, you're like,
here we go. Run for mayor.
And is David, was he like?
A lot of hard conversations.
Was he like?
No,
Yes, or was he like, what?
Yeah, he's around politics enough to know, like, what are you thinking?
Okay.
But much like, in strong marriages, you have those long conversations, like, where is your individual happiness? Where is your family happiness? Where's the connection point? And also his role to be protector and provider for the family and making sure that his children were safe. And so those were hard. That was a hard decision that ultimately made it. He was all in.
And you got little kids.
Yeah. But he was the best asset I could have asked for when it came to the campaign, because he's beloved also. He's also incredibly direct with people, and he doesn't take things personally and internalize it. And so together, I think it made it. I know that it was the difference maker in me being successful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you? Okay, let's go into mayor land.
Okay.
Now, like, what did you? Can you talk to me about a few things? Like, you're like, I just did not expect that. Like, just maybe biggest challenges or things that you did not.
So one thing I didn't
foresee.
anticipate is the exhaustion that will come with being on all the time in the public. And I've had to learn where my balance is. So remember when you got married, did you have a big wedding?
300.
Okay. Like, you want to be there for all the people. You want to kiss and hug and shake hands and dance. And it's over. And you're like, I've never been this tired.
Yeah.
Well,
the receding line.
You can do that 5 days a week in Fort Worth if you want to, if you can. And you just have to ask yourself, where's your balance, right?
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate that, and I've learned.
You didn't anticipate that. Did you have to learn how to say no?
I have.
How can you give me, like, do you have any principles or guiding
It's a balance
stones
of, okay, these are the 3 options. Which one am I needed the most? And I really do try to channel the position of mayor, not me personally. Where is that position needed the most? Is my presence a real difference maker, or is it just a nice to have?
Yeah, the ROI.
You get so many wonderful, kind invitations.
Yeah.
And then also
come
coupled
be
with
on my podcast.
Yeah, coupled with like the things that really I feel like are making a huge difference in our community, that are transforming lives. And I want to be there just to watch it happen selfishly. I want to be a part of that somehow, And that's the kind of the balance I try to strike as well.
So that's the rubric of measuring impact.
And also my family schedule. I don't miss kids' games, right? Unless we're just really, that's where I'm traveling or something. David and I are committed to that. And trying to create some level of normalcy at our household so that, David's got a busy job too. Where do we need to be and be home as much as possible?
I can attest
be
to
together.
seeing you on the football field.
Yes, you've been there, done that, right? Like, you're just trying to make it happen. And
on a Sunday, schlepping all the water bottles.
All the stuff across. Yes, exactly.
So that was one of your biggest challenges, just things you didn't like, how hard it would be.
Yeah. Then I would say second, Jamie, is getting to know council members.
Okay.
Quickly. Go. A lot of new faces. A big turnover happened. Carlos Flores and Gina Bivens, I'd already known really well, having worked with them. And so that was easy. But I knew people on council, some I'd known before, some not, knowing what their priorities and relationships were, their agendas, not in a negative way, just like what they were really going to be working on was a lot as well.
And so this is naive. I'm naive about that world. So council members, and you are collaborating a lot.
Yes.
Like a board of directors, kind of?
That's why I consider myself the chair of the board.
Okay.
And these are our board of directors for the city. And David Cook and the management team, that's your CEO and leadership.
Okay. And so you have to know them well.
Absolutely.
You have to be, and I'm assuming you're not always aligned with all of them because they all come from different.
Of course not. Yeah. You're playing referee a lot.
Okay.
Someone has an idea or something they're passionate about. Okay, how do we implement that if we want to at all? If it's a really bad idea, how do we quash it? Not personally. It's just, look, this is not where we need to be focused right now.
Yeah.
There's only so many hours in the day. And also a appropriate separation and relationship with city management. We are a city management form of government. There are large cities in America that are strong mayor, which essentially when the mayor gets elected, they bring in all their people. That's not what happens here in Fort Worth.
Okay.
I love the city management system. I think that it is, you end up with a more professional staff that are dedicated to their jobs, and there's no politics associated with it, right? You sometimes can get some rub because, a council member, even a mayor, like that's not my priority. I want them to do something different. It's an ebb and flow you have to work on, but that's where we are in Fort Worth. And so working with my city council members to kind of understand how to better interact and work with city managers is important too.
So are you the boss? Like, do you get to like?
Absolutely.
You're still the boss.
Yeah.
But you got to get the buy-in from this whole crew.
I think I see myself as your principal leader for the city. And leadership takes a tremendous amount of teamwork. I can get nothing done by myself. I am one vote. I have to have my council members alongside me to get things done and be prepared for the things that are contentious or difficult. Right. And the same goes for city management. They can't do anything without me either because it won't work.
It's the checks and balances. Yeah. And so the difficult piece was I'm new, but I've kind of not new because I've been here. But now I got, out of all my city, I have all these new city council people that I got to win over and befriend and understand and empathize with. And we got to collaborate.
Right. And, y'all watched the campaign. It was it was 10 people running and then a runoff with Deborah Peoples. And a lot of people voted, historic numbers for Fort Worth. And, about 48% of the people were not happy. So how do you win hearts and minds, not with words, but with action? How do you demonstrate that I'm the right leader for the right time in Fort Worth? And you're not going to win everybody.
Right.
And then lastly is just developing really thick skin, like overnight.
Yeah. Tell us talk about that.
I think I'm better. I'm much better now. Women have a tendency to want everybody to like them, especially in their 20s.
Most humans.
Yes, but
do.
I have seen in my observations, men do a better job of like, whatever, man. Like I'm going to move on with my day, and we internalize it. Especially if you're a high achiever and you're just...
You're used to people liking you.
Yeah. And learning to let that go, and who gives a shit? Right?
It's easier said than done.
It's like living with being misunderstood.
Absolutely. And furthermore, the keyboard warriors that are on Facebook or whatever, get a life. If you spend your whole day, and I mean this honestly, against anyone, whether it's a political figure or a friend, an ex-friend, ex-husband, whatever, trashing them online, get a life. And I've just had to remember that. That is such a toxic environment for humans in general. And it is breeding this level of mistrust and animosity and partisanship that is really, really troubling. So learning to like compartmentalize that, let that go, and don't pay attention to it.
How do you do that?
You can just ignore it. It bothers my family a lot more than me.
Do you get on Facebook and stuff?
I don't get on Facebook.
You don't get on Facebook?
I think Facebook's terrible.
It's true.
It's a dumpster fire.
It is devolved. I don't know what's going on there. I enjoy Instagram.
Okay.
I enjoy Twitter.
Is someone filtering your email so you're not getting some of those as well?
Yeah, but they tell me the things that we're pretty good shape. Yeah, sometimes you get some crazy things that come in. Bethany can tell you.
So part of the way is like I'm just not going to wade into that toxic soup.
I just don't think it's healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I will say we haven't done it, and we are going to implement it at this new City Hall building. I want my council members and I to just share on a bulletin board the meanest thing someone said about you, and just keep a collection because they're
like
actually
the Twitter,
like Jimmy Kimmel. It's actually really funny. Honestly, it's really funny.
I can see that because that was like we were joking earlier. Like I used to like from the time I was like in high school, I was like I'm gonna be mayor one day.
I didn't know this about you.
Yeah, I just I do things because it sounds fun.
Okay,
like I start businesses because it sounds fun.
Got it.
I don't care about money. I do things that sound fun.
Okay.
And so I was like, that sounds fun. I love Fort Worth. That sounds fun. People get to know you. Yeah. And then it was probably more just like fun, selfish oriented. But then 2020 happened with COVID and Black Lives Matter and the shooting. Like there was just so much. And I just looked at Betsy and I was like, oh my, like 50% of the population, no matter what decision you make, any decision you make,
they're all going to be mad.
Hates you. Is like you're morally violating a And so I was like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. Really hard.
Yeah, and even like local government used to be more, non-political, but then we politicalized all these. It just seems hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I've like you have to have thick skin.
You really do, and to the issues you pointed out that we experienced, especially during 2020, 2021, some of them still kind of linger today.
Mm-hmm.
I am troubled by a younger generation, and this is an oversimplification. It's not just the generation behind us, but of you don't agree with me, so you are evil.
Yeah.
And you're bad for humanity, and I'm going to terrorize you because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is so unhealthy and impractical. And you're seeing that play itself out right now, I think. And maybe, I wasn't alive during the 60s. I think there was some of that happening then too, but for different reasons. And I am proud that Fort Worth's in a really good place right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I feel like there's been a lift from.
I do too.
If you're not in my echo chamber, you're my enemy. That I feel like there's been a little bit of a lift from that.
And I feel like you're good. You're really good at empathizing and going into both sides. And you've said some things and you've made some decisions that are what I feel like you balance the line. You're like, I am making a decision and a conviction that I feel personally versus like this is a political alignment type of thing. I feel like you've done a great job of like, you can't put me in a box because I've made decisions.
But I think I appreciate you saying that. I think the difference, though, I would push back a little bit is people notice it because I'm in a political position, because I'm on the news or media follows what I say and do. But I think you like that, Jamey, because most people are that way. Most people can't be put in a box.
Nuanced, yeah.
But we've allowed our elected officials to only play in their sandbox. And so when someone's willing to jump outside just a little bit, or quote unquote surprise you for not toting a party line or a partisan belief, we get excited. That's terrible. Right? That's just someone
being human.
being human, making good decisions, being focused on public policy for all people. And we need more of that. We really do. Yeah.
But I feel like you do a good job of embodying that.
I appreciate that very much.
I love, I was a philosophy major.
Oh, okay.
I just like ideas. It depends. Whoever I'm in the room with, I'm probably going to be the opposite of whatever they are. Yeah. Just because it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Contrarian a little bit.
A little contrarian.
Does he do that to you?
Every decision.
Every decision. Let's think through this.
So I have an appreciation for nuance, so to speak. So anyways, I think you do that well. I would love to kind of going back to the balancing it all and the juggling and the needing to unplug. Can you walk me through just like a day in the life coupled with how do you, day in the life, I wake up, I do this, and here's how I still prioritize my family, my mental health, my like, because you will burn out, like it's at some point. If you're not, saying no to some things for your health or your own sanity, or if you need alone time or your kid, like walk me through how you balance that and with your daily routine schedule.
Well, I think an average day where I'm pretty focused on mayor responsibilities, right, is I wake up really early, usually 4:30, 4:45, and go on a run. I have a great running group of women that I started running with actually this summer. And come home, no one's awake yet, coffee.
So you're going to bed early if you're waking up at 4:30. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, between 9 and 10, ideally, or 10. But we can get to that, but I can't do that every day and not get enough sleep. That's not good for you. So, but that's a whole other issue, sleep. Anyway, come home and then I've got kids to go to school. So I guess it was yesterday, I bought Lainey, who's 7, 2 new pairs of khaki pants for school, and he managed to pull the buttons off of both of them because he couldn't get they're regular buttons, and he just got frustrated. So he just ripped the button off. I was like, buddy, they're not the slide kind, and now what are we gonna do? He was like, well, I don't know, I'll just pull my shirt down. I was like, I can't send you to school with no buttons. So I'm my point is, like, every mom's nightmare is like trying to get your kid in an outfit for school and start the day, and it's usually just a different variety of meetings, council responsibilities. Tuesdays are all council all day, right? Work sessions, committee hearings, council meetings at night. Working
and
with
that goes
council
into
members.
late at night sometimes.
Yeah, it just depends on the day. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of community facing efforts, and Depending on the day, sometimes I'll have an obligation in the evening. I try not to do longer dinners if I can avoid them, just because I want to be home. But I'm pretty good about, I'll come by your event at 5:30 and say hi and do the thing and then go home.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great support system at home to help me with the kids too.
And do you have someone that preps a dinner for you and your family?
Yes and no. My mom lives with us during the week and she loves cooking.
There.
So if I do all the grocery shopping on Sunday, which I do, and then she kind of helps, but then I'll try to cook, 1 or 2 nights a week. Just depends on what's going on. Yeah.
And
then kids sports, right? So then you're like, I'm gonna cook dinner. No, I'm not, because we're gonna be game on till 7 o'clock or whatever it may be, or traveling. And Grayson's got sports too. So.
And you probably, you could probably go to dinner every single night. Probably people are like, I got to this event.
Oh yeah, and night. You just don't.
Yeah, those are things you have to say no to. So some of the building blocks is one, getting up early so you have a little bit of alone time, and then running.
Yeah, I have to work out or I'm probably not nice.
And you love running. You like running?
I do.
Okay.
I think it's teaching me a lot about myself at 40.
You're a new runner then?
Yeah, well, I ran a lot in my 20s.
Okay.
And some in my 30s, but I hadn't run in a while, so this has been fun.
And then kid
chaos.
Kid chaos.
Mayoring.
School time. Mayoring all day. Pop by an event. Wave, say hi,
do the thing,
and then you secretly leave. Okay,
ghost out. Yeah,
leave.
Yeah. And I'm getting used to it. I'm working part time at Cook Children's, and so I do that 2 days a week.
Which
usually.
I saw that seems wild.
It's awesome. It's been a really cool experience. Talk about humbling, beautiful, smart people.
And your role there is
chief of staff to Rick Merrill.
Okay,
so it's part time, project based. They've been amazing, and I'm just learning my way through healthcare right now. And so it's a balance. Again, back to city manager form of government. We are not a strong mayor city. And when I ran for mayor, I told people I will work at some point, that I'm too young in my professional career to totally turn my back on things outside of politics. So I waited 2 years, and this role was the right thing, I think, for me and for the city. So,
I love that you're doing that. Well, yeah, thanks for walking us through the day in the life. Can you, what advice would you give yourself, either 3 years ago or 2 years ago when you started this crazy journey, or 10, 15, if you could go back to your younger self and say something, what would it be?
Ooh, let me think about this.
And that could be as Mattie in high school, or Mattie, January, whatever date you said, 2021.
I think, especially having run for office now, been on the ballot twice, it is very clear to me who my people are, who are really in your circle, in your corner for you, that want nothing for themselves. It's just to be supportive and be authentic. And that's a gift that sometimes not everyone gets to have, because you never go through something that's that public facing to really know who's in your corner. So that would be number one.
Meaning,
just who
know who they are or appreciate them more?
Appreciate them more, know who they are, and be proud of those relationships. Because as you can imagine, when you run for office, everybody comes out of the woodwork. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you still need your people, your foundation of who keeps you rooted, which is really important.
How wide is that net?
Dave and I are very lucky. We have a really pretty wide net of people that are there. But then, there's an extended net of people that wanted to be close, and for what reason. And so I think that's probably number one. And number two is you still have to prioritize what's most important to you. And for us, it's our family. And so this all comes second, just like your careers do. Your family has to come first. And it's really easy sometimes when you're in a job that's so front facing that people forget that you have this other much bigger priority that you're responsible for. And just keeping them front and center is a priority for me. And I think every day I learn something new about what it looks like to balance all that.
And so there's an appreciation for those people and those things and those priorities. So going back, would you say to do that more, or just be aware more?
I think just be aware more. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe do more, but just mainly just the awareness aspect of it. And then, as everyone probably does, the things you think about and cared about in your 20s are so irrelevant as you get older, but that's just part of your growth, right? And the things that make you who you are. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with that at all.
Yeah, those are good. That was really good. Were there any like books or resources or leaders or like that were really pivotal in shaping who you are today and how you lead today?
Well, I would say a few things because I've been around politics for so long. I've been around a lot of different types of political leaders. I'll just say, in that category. And let's just take Kay Granger and Betsy. They're very different leadership styles, both equally successful and effective. And having worked for both of them, it was such an advantage. And I probably have certain aspects of both of them and how I operate as well. So those are two obvious people. Folks that I do not know that I admire tremendously from a kind of international leadership standpoint. People like Madeleine Albright and the way her focus on diplomacy. It's just a fascinating story, right? And what she's done for the world, I think is important. Condoleezza Rice, and I got the opportunity to meet her briefly and her work at the Hoover Institute. And she is truly a force and remarkable woman. And I definitely had a fangirl moment in getting to meet her a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Those are some. And then on the mayor front, there are some mayors that have really been good to me. I've got great friendships among others that are in the same position as me that I'm really thankful for. And I think that has been a tremendous asset, especially when things are hard or you're making big decisions, to talk to somebody that's making similar decisions in their own community. It's been really helpful.
Because you can't pick up the phone and call someone in Fort Worth. There's like one person.
There's a few former mayors, I guess, but even their experience. It's like what's happening here and now in U.S. cities to talk to somebody that's also trying to make those same decisions is really, really
that's
helpful.
That's got to be very helpful.
Yeah, that number is a really small number.
Yeah.
That's why they say it's lonely at the top. It's like, I just found out there's literally an organization called It's Lonely at the Top.
Oh, really? I did not know
that.
It's
a leadership, like sort of cohort for CEOs and founders. But
that's a great title or name for the group. Yeah.
I'm like, let's just call it organization what it is.
Yeah.
Because it really can be. Because when you're feeling, it's just easy to feel alone if you don't have, you have mom friends and then you have like business friends. And for you probably have a lot of government friends, but your position is so unique at such a unique time.
Yes.
And figuring out who are those people that you, if nothing else, can commiserate with. Maybe they don't have all the answers, but finding those commiserating people.
It's really important. Yeah. Lonely at the top. I like that.
Do you have any? I have two more questions, but I don't. Do you have anything you want to specifically ask?
Are they on? I'm interested in these questions.
The rapid. You want to go to the rapid land?
No, the what's next. Those are mine.
Oh, the what's next.
Yeah.
Before we dive into what's next,
yeah.
Can you just legacy? What is legacy? What do you want? What does that mean? That word mean to you?
I believe a legacy for me personally as mayor are initiatives that are long lasting, that make sense for other future leaders in our community to continue to further. And I think that's a big reason why I've focused on good-natured and outdoor space and park space across our community, green space.
And this is your newest.
This is our newest effort. Mind you, we started open space acquisition with Trust for Public Land several years ago, but it was small and didn't have a lot of monetary support. We had a small piece of the bond, about $15 million, to help acquire land. But we are rapidly growing in this city. I don't have to tell you all that. We're unique because we are only half developed. We lose 50 acre plus a week to development. What are we protecting? What are we creating for future generations? And there's so many aspects about Fort Worth that are connected to our green space, our parks that we're so proud of, but you cannot be complacent. So I had this sense of urgency to make sure good-natured and our master planning for parks are connected in a way that is long-lasting as a legacy project.
So there's an aggressive move to acquire land to preserve it.
Yes.
As land
and
parks.
Our goal is at least 10,000 acres in 5 years.
That's freaking awesome.
Which I think is very achievable. But it's more than that. It's also additional policy focus, a partnership with the water district to make sure we're connected in the right ways to protect landscapes and waterways as well. The Trinity River as a connection point. How do we continue to invest in our trail system and activate the trail system? Does every zip code, does every neighborhood have access to a park? Our our measurements in places like Trust for Public Land, 10-minute walk to park, how we ranked as a park system.
Mm-hmm.
All those things are so incredibly important. And coupled with, there's a huge emphasis in the United States, really across the world right now, and there should be, around environmental protection. What does sustainability look like? What does climate change mean for cities? And disappointingly, I've seen a lot of mayors and cities really glom onto, let's be a climate city. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you actually control? And the most important thing that cities control are your green space areas. Trees and protective cover and ensuring that everything is not concrete. And those are the things that cities need to be focused on. And I personally feel like even though we are growing rapidly and successful, it could go away quickly if we don't continue to invest in the thing that people have it's really drawn individuals and all of us and families to be in Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you compare us to Austin, do you feel like they probably did a good-ish job of that back in the day? Because when you think of Austin, you think of booming concrete city, rapid pace growth, but you also think of all the things you can do
all
outside.
The outdoor stuff.
Yeah. I mean, think about Wild Basin and that area of Austin along Mopac, that's all protected land. Mm-hmm. You think about their trail system as well. Yeah, they've done an excellent job, and their tree canopy. And we have a lot of the same types of policies here in Fort Worth. And we're just lucky to be behind them growth-wise by about 10 years. And so how do you learn from a city like that? That's been, it's very important. So that's legacy to me. And
I love that.
And also
kind of what's next also.
Yeah.
What's your next?
Yeah, I think so. And then a recognition that this office doesn't belong to me. It belongs to Fort Worth. And I'm the mayor for this season. And I will do, my very best job every single day on behalf of the residents, and then pass the torch when it's time to the next leader to hope to kind of continue that legacy of leadership that we've been really lucky to have in Fort Worth.
And do you see that as like a lot longer?
I don't know. I really don't. I'm so happy right now in this moment. I don't know what's next, and I don't know how long I'll want to be mayor, or more importantly, it's a want, but also of do I feel pulled to do the next thing? And again, back to balance with family, what is best for everyone. But I hope it's obvious that I don't have to be in politics. Like, doesn't matter to me that much to be in elected office. That I just happen to be a public figure to do the job that I love right now. So
love it. Love it. And I'm excited for the thought of preservation. I mean, it's like you look at New York City, and it's like the fact that someone at some point was like, we're gonna carve out Central Park.
Can you imagine what it would have been like?
Yeah, I mean, how much profitable it could have been, like, but it's just this magical thing that still exists in the middle of such a.
We have such wonderful jewels in Fort Worth, from Trinity Park to the zoo to the Botanic Gardens to Gateway Park, our neighborhood parks. All of those things should be continued, but at the same time, how do you enhance those as well and make really big investments
and get more? Like, I love that. You're like the Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay, I like
Fort
it.
Worth.
I like
it. Okay, you got to get going here. So we have rapid rounds.
Okay,
Few little quick questions. Favorite meal in Fort Worth? Your like go-to meal food?
I would probably have to say clay pigeon is one of our favorite places to go.
What do you get at a clay pigeon?
I always change it up, but I just feel like the food is always wonderful. Great service. Yeah. I love Marcus and Emily and their whole family.
Always good.
It's always good. Always good.
Mm-hmm. Tried and true.
Their chicken is pork chop. It's always good.
I feel like I always get pasta. Marcus has a good pasta. It's kind of sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love that. Favorite date night?
Ooh, good date night. A concert, right? Mm-hmm. We just went to Turnpike at Billy Bob's, which was really fun. We love going to Rodney Foster. Is one of our favorites.
Oh, right. Great song.
We've traveled. So, it's a concert of some sort.
And y'all are kind of like Americana, Texas
Yes,
country
we are, but we'll do
folks.
Anything, honestly. I mean, David went to, Tool last year with my brother.
Oh, really?
Just because. ZZ Top, Eagles, whatever. I mean, I was raised really on 60s and 70s classic rock. So that's kind of my genre. And then David was raised on a lot of things, included heavy metal and then 80s and 90s country.
I love it.
Yeah.
You got to let me know when his next.
I will. Okay, you can go heckle them.
I want to go. Favorite like event or thing you look forward to in the city?
In the city?
Yeah.
Well, rodeo comes to mind. I mean, it's 3 weeks is a long time, right? You got to put your party pants on. survive it. But it's a pretty special time in Fort Worth. We love concerts in the gardens. And I think we may have a little pause this next year, but it's one of my favorite.
It's not happening.
I know, it's one of my favorite things in Fort Worth for sure. Us too. And then probably, sporting events. It's fun to go to a TCU game and get to experience that with your family and your kids is always a good time. Those come to mind as kind of top ones for us.
Love it. Love it. And then favorite cocktail, your favorite cocktail in Fort Worth.
Probably a margarita. I like a Joe T's margarita. Mm-hmm. I think the atmosphere just lends itself to a good cocktail. Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
You really can't.
Can't go wrong with the Joe T's Mark. Well, we've loved getting to chat with you.
Thank you.
I think that what you're doing is incredible. As you have boys, we have girls. And so I love our girls getting to watch a woman lead in our city. And obviously we had that legacy before, but just you being so young and fiery and at the same time so personable. And I just hope our girls can see that that's what leadership looks like. And it's finding a way to balance and to be in the middle, not picking sides, but also making people feel special, being empathetic, adoption. There's so many parts of your story we didn't even get to touch on, but I just think you're doing an incredible job.
I appreciate that.
As a wife and a mom of little girls, it's fun to have somebody that you can point to in our city. You can do that online and around the country, but to be able to do it in our own city, in our own backyard is really special.
I mean, what a testament to our country, like how much things have changed to get to be in this position right now. I was elected when I was 37, a mom of 3 kids. To get to be mayor of a city is it's an awesome opportunity. I don't want to squander it. That's for sure. So yeah, I've met your girls. They could do all the things. Yeah.
They can.
They really can.
Busy.
Yes.
They can. Well, thank you so much. We're huge fans.
Thank you very much.
We're cheerleaders.
Same to y'all. Appreciate the time very much.
All righty.
Okay.
Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Stories with Soul. If you enjoyed the interview and like what you heard, please help us out and share, subscribe, and like anywhere you listen to podcasts. When you share and subscribe, it is insanely helpful and allows us to keep producing new episodes. You can always join us directly in the studio by watching the video version on our website, 6thAveStorytelling.com. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Thanks for listening.